Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at the 2002 made-for-TV movie Carrie, which is one part remake of the 76 Brian De Palma film, and one part fresh adaptation of the 74 Stephen King novel. Starring Angela Bettis in the title role, during the same year she starred in Lucky McKee's May, the 2002 Carrie was written by Brian Fuller, who would go on to create several well-acclaimed shows, including Pushing Daisies and Hannibal. Fuller's Carrie premiered on NBC and did okay in the ratings, but not good enough to launch the TV series that the studios had hoped it would lead into. This version of Carrie has many scenes that'll be familiar to fans of the original, but it also features some crucial changes. The setting has been updated to the 21st century, and it focuses a bit more on the high school students and a bit less on Carrie's mother and gym teacher. It also includes some scenes and characters from the novel that were left out of the De Palma movie, even though it was made with absolutely zero involvement from King. After The Rage Carrie 2, King said he was done with this shit. But the most notable change here is with Carrie herself. While Sissy Spacek's performance was great, Angela Bettis makes the role her own and turns Carrie into an outcast who's less fragile and more aware of her social standing in school. Bettis gives Carrie a unique strength that makes these familiar scenes bearable, but between its overly long runtime and the made-for-TV look of its production, her performance still might come short of making this version worth watching. Will this retelling feature more kills than the De Palma version? Let's find out and get to them. The movie begins with a childbirth, but it ain't sperm raining out the sky there, it's rocks. And they're coming for that title card. No, really, title card, move. There's one headed straight for you. Ah, shit. Tried to warn them. This version of Carrie uses a police investigation as a framing device, one that takes place after the so-called Black Prom. The framing device makes it a little closer to the novel, which also takes place after the fact and consists of various interviews and news reports. Reminder that it's a quick and easy read. You should give it a go. Detective John Mulcahy is leading the case, and he's the kind of guy who will ask blunt questions and give good girls praise.
You ever try heroin, Sue?
No.
Good girl.
He's talking to Sue Snell here about Carrietta White, so she flashes him back to a week before prom when all these students were still alive enough to show off their non-burnt midriffs. Except for Carrie, of course. Her midriff is as closed off as her mother's mind, which is the reason she's being excused from biology class today, since they're learning about evolution. As you damn well know already, Carrie is a social pariah, and her stickball skills in gym class ain't winning over any new friends. The leader of her detractors is Chris Hargensen, played here by Emily DeRaven, who we've seen before in Santa's Sleigh. She's also notably bad at keeping track of babies on deserted islands.
Did she take my baby? She took my baby!
Her best friend and lieutenant of sorts is a book character missing from the De Palma movie, Tina Blake, who's played by Katharine Isabelle, star of several horror movies, including 2003's Freddy vs. Jason. They and the other girls are real mean to Carrie, but instead of telling her she eats shit, they use much more TV-friendly insults.
You suck.
Scathing. Their cruelty extends to the locker room, where the infamous bullying scene plays out, with a lot more clothes involved than in De Palma's Tour de Teenage Skin. Carrie gets her period, becomes very confused and scared, then gets tormented by all the other girls chanting at her.
Period! Period!
Gym teacher Miss Desjardins, which was Miss Collins' name in the novel, comforts Carrie with a patented slap, causing the poor girl to shatter a nearby light with her frickin' brain. Desjardins informs Principal Morton of the matter, and he becomes so uncomfortable it shuts down his short-term memory.
Send in Carrie, right?
It's Carrie White.
Come in, Cassie.
Damn it, dude, you know what happens when people get Carrie's name wrong.
It's Carrie!
Yeah, shit starts flying around like you got yourself a poltergeist problem. Carrie goes to leave school for the day, but before she can, she's hit with a plug it up and some tampon harassment, which she endures with silent, shaky rage. Again, I love Angela Bettis's resentful Carrie, who's also a bit more actiony than the Spacek version when it comes to dealing with douchey bike kids.
Creepy Carrie! Creepy Carrie!
Whoa, she sent that kid flying. Little guy ate tree and shit. Carrie gets home and thinks back to a time when she was played by Jodelle Ferland, previously on the kill count as Patience Buckner in Cabin in the Woods. In a scene from the novel, young Carrie came across her topless sunbathing neighbor.
What are those?
Breasts?
I wish I had some.
Oh, Carrie. Mama Margaret ain't gonna like that dirty pillow talk. The ensuing argument gets so raucous, the house can't even contain it. And after the noise has drawn an audience, they witness a hail of TV budget meteorites that come crashing down all over the White property. Although, honestly, I don't think these look that bad. Also, I was surprised to learn that they filmed this scene for the original De Palma movie. It was going to be a flashback used as a prologue, but it never made the final cut. Those sky rocks were rained down by Carrie, of course, who now enters her Jesus-y home where her zealous mother is waiting for her. Margaret's played by Patricia Clarkson, practicing this overbearing mother role so she could whip it out again 16 years later in Sharp Objects. She calls Carrie's menstruation a sin and slaps her for her biology, then drags her defiant daughter into their praying closet so she can think about what Jesus did. But instead of praying, this Carrie would rather look at teen magazines she keeps hidden in the closet wall. Carrietta White, you little devil you. Oh hey, let's check back in on our framing device. Maybe it can tell us what Sue Snell thinks religion should be like.
Shouldn't religion be more like dogs playing poker?
You know, let's actually just get back to the main story. 5 days before prom, Miss Desjardins lines up the mean girls and shows them what it feels like to be attacked by tampons and gym teachers. She tells them they've all got detention, and when Chris talks back, she gets banned from prom. Though it's a punishment, she vows not to take lying down.
This is so far from over. It's not even in the same area code as over.
If you wanted to go to prom, Chris, you shouldn't have been so mean to Carrie, who's currently using all this wondrous 2002 technology to look up miracle underwear. To look up miracles, hidden powers of the mind. The next day, Carrie and her classmates are getting taught some straight bullshit from their science teacher.
The main effect of photosynthesis is to increase the overall amount of carbon dioxide, CO2, in the atmosphere.
What? No, it isn't. It's to do the opposite of that. With your way, we'd be dead. Anyway, some more bullying turns Carrie into Danny Torrance, and then the director tests out each and every video effect available to him. None of them are good, guys. Sorry. Principal Morton gets a visit from Chris's lawyer father, John Hargensen, in another book scene left out of the original. He tries to get Desjardins fired and his daughter her prom tickets back, but despite his nebbish appearance, Morton stands his ground. He tells John that Chris has been non-stop mean-girling throughout the years, so he could just go ahead and fuck off. You know, it's a good character moment for Morton, but I can totally see why it was left out last time. At the town bowling alley, which undoubtedly gets cosmic on the weekends, Sue hands in her mean girl badge and dagger looks after an argument with Chris and wait, that's Billy Nolan? Damn, we went from Danny Zuko to a casting fluko. Why are we getting close-ups of this dude? He's not saying anything. He's not doing anything. Which is not the case with Carrie. She's practicing her powers in her bedroom with holy reverence. Getting pretty devout there, Carrie.
Have you said your prayers? I'm saying them now, Mama.
And practice prayers make perfect. She's already ready to telekick some ass. Meanwhile, over at the Snelling dwelling, Sue tells her boyfriend Tommy Ross that she wants him to take Carrie White to the dance and to be real nice to her. The next day, he interrupts her computer time to ask her straight up.
So if you don't have a date for prom, you want to go with me?
What?
She thinks he's pranking her at first, but he says no. He really likes her anti-establishmentarianism. His pitch is probably the best of all the Tommy Rosses, which is maybe why he gets her to agree right there, without ever having to go to her house.
Okay.
Is that a yes?
Yes, I'll go.
Carrie tells her mother about her prom plans over holy dinner that night, but Margaret responds sounding like a children's album by They Might Be Giants.
No, no, no.
Once again, a desire of conformity begets a face full of comfort tea, and Carrie ends up openly and directly using her powers against her mom. She says she's not the only one who has these kinds of powers. She's learned about others just like her on the internet. The internet! And what's more, she's going to prom, gosh darn it, even if mean girls like Chris Fluffyson are gonna keep harassing her at school.
At least when I'm being a bitch, I'll cop to it.
Doesn't make it cute. We get some more of what you already know, but Angela Bettis's Carrie continues to stand out from the Spacek precedent. To Sue, she expresses an eloquent understanding of her social standing.
I don't think I'm better than you. It's okay. Everyone does.
Doesn't mean it's true, though.
And with her mom, the power dynamic has almost flipped, with Carrie flouting her future prom attendants in front of Margaret's face and casually shooting down her mom's Bible quotes.
Sometimes I think you make those things up.
We actually almost had Angela Bettis on the kill count already. She filmed scenes for Sinister as the Oswald's neighbor, but they were ultimately cut from the final film. Over in the wraparound segments, Detective Mulcahy keeps questioning kids from the high school. He's convinced that Sue Snell was in on the Carrie White prank, even though everyone tells him she wasn't. For instance, she didn't go with Chris and Tommy's gang to this pig farm rocking DHS cameras, meaning she didn't watch as Billy Nolan tried to be intimidating.
Then shut your pie hole.
Maybe next time.
Little pigs, little pigs.
No, I meant like give it a day or something, dude. Jack Nicholson, this guy ain't. In the end though, Billy does get so wild with a sledgehammer it causes his friends to throw up. So sure, I guess he earned a bit of psycho cred. Good job, guy. Carrie gets ready for the prom while her mother continues to fret over it. Like I said, Margaret's role is somewhat downsized in this version, but just like with Bettis, Patricia Clarkson gives us a unique depiction. This Margaret seems less spiteful and more like she's truly concerned about her daughter earning eternal brimstone housing.
I don't want to lose you, Carrie.
Her more well-meaning sincerity doesn't piss off Carrie any less though, so she mind scoots her mother on out of that room. Damn, not a great green screen there. Just shut the door on that effect, please. Margaret leaves Carrie alone on prom night, and as she anxiously waits for Tommy, she paces around floating all her furniture up in the air, looking like she on a space station or something. Tommy rings the doorbell, which causes a huge crash from within. But don't worry, Carrie knows how to handle this.
Did your ceiling, like, just collapse or something?
Yes, my ceiling just collapsed just now.
Whoa. Can I see it?
No.
Holy shit, y'all! Carrie was doing Aurora Borealis references back in 2002! What he lacks in steamed hams, Tommy makes up in limousines, a gesture that really astounds Carrie and gives her a nice moment of genuine happiness. While the two of them head to prom, let's check back in on— oh god, no! What? Oh my god, I just can't fucking take this guy seriously. In fact, I think the two of them are talking about his casting right now.
Maybe it's a bad idea.
It's a good idea.
Agree to disagree. Carrie and Tommy get to the dance, and after a beat of hesitation, she's ready to get in there and live out her dreams, not knowing that Chris and boring Billy are there too, plotting their pig's blood prank. Carrie's presence draws exaggerated looks of scorn and confusion, but she still tries to be social, even if she doesn't catch all the cues.
Oh my god, where'd you get that dress?
I made it.
Shut up.
You shut up.
She has a chill time with Tommy and a warm conversation with Miss Desjardins, who tells her not to worry, since people aren't defined by their high school years.
And the ones who are miserable turn out just fine. They do.
Tommy even gets her to slow dance with him, where she thanks him for being so nice. Even though she knows he doesn't actually like her, she's still having a good time. You know, for now. Voting begins for prom king and queen, and Carrie gets nervous about her involuntary candidacy, especially with the others at her table making super timely political jokes about it.
Who do we vote for?
Ourselves, duh.
Well, isn't that like voting for Ralph Nader?
Tommy Ross is Green Party all the way though, so he and Carrie vote for themselves. They also score a vote from Helen Shyres there, who was played by Edie McClurg in the original, but this time around is played by Chelan Smith, who we've seen as both a child on a tricycle and a naked-ass woman getting killed in a tanning bed. Little weird. Thanks to some election fraud carried out by Tina Blake, Carrie and Tommy win in a landslide, giving Carrie another sweet moment of happiness. Aw, she looks like if season 1 Peggy Olson had gotten a promotion, or, you know, any kind of validation. She steps out to soak in more adulation and has a long, maybe too long, fantasy sequence where she makes it out to the dance floor with Tommy and even scores a smooch from him. But that dream is shattered by the feeling of blood on her hand, which brings her back to reality. And oh, there goes gravity pulling down that bucket after Chris finally yanks the rope. The blood pour is one long, soupy waterfall that probably goes on 3 times as long as the original version. It just keeps keeps on going, man. A real gazpacho downpour. Carrie is left covered in blood as people like Tina react with amusement. Chris drops the rope and runs, and we get our traditional first kill of Carrie, with Tommy Ross getting brained by a bucket. All that pig's blood on stage makes it look a lot more violent than it was. Most of the student body starts laughing, and Carrie becomes devastated by all the negativity. She can't even recognize the support she gets from Helen Shyres or Miss Desjardins. Though, to be fair, it's probably hard to recognize your friends when they sound like they're on Duster. Carrie kicks off her prom carnage with a psionic shockwave before slamming all the doors shut, which traps the arm of Tina Blake's boyfriend, Kenny Garson. She shakes around and dismantles the gym with her mind, while all the other prom attendees try to escape in vain. With the crashing of some lights, Carrie gets a fire going, and we, the audience, are treated to this movie's visual effects, which we will come to rue. Carrie kills Tina Blake by knocking her down and crushing her with a basketball backboard. Nice shot, Carrie. Nothing but death. She stands frozen in place, directing all this chaos with her mind. And I'll go ahead and count this dude who was climbing a rope as dead when he falls back behind a wall of fire. I feel like I have to, since I counted similar incidents as kills back in Nightmare 2's party scene. This is when the visual effects start to eat ass. I mean, look at those fake flames back there. They're real effing bad. The fire causes the sprinkler system to go off, sending people slipping and sliding all over the place. Carrie clears a negative puddle out from where she's standing and avoids getting shocked by the sparks and water around her. Unlike Principal Morton, who's electrocuted by the mic stand on stage, staying true to his character's death in both the original film and the novel. Desjardins rallies some of the kids into an air duct escape route, as Carrie knocks out a water pipe to stop the sprinklers and flood the floor. Desjardins sees the disaster about to happen and tries to warn everyone around her. But she's only able to save herself. Seemingly everyone else left in the gym gets electrocuted by Carrie, including Helen Shyres and her boyfriend Roy Everts, and the mass of people by the door that includes Tina's boyfriend Kenny Garson. Whole lot of dead people here, but once again, I'm using a line of dialogue to do my job for me.
234 people died, and you're trying to sell me on some Weekly World News headline?
Thanks to that line and a little bit of math, I'm counting 227 victims right here. Carrie exits this gymnasium of subpar effects and leaves the school's roof to collapse into a digital mess. It goes up in a big ol' ugly fire that can be seen from all over town. Carrie then begins to destroy the entire town, something I'm glad was included here after De Palma's version left it out. I know the school's destruction had the most personal meaning for Carrie, but I always loved how in the book she causes the death of an entire town. The thing about books though is that you can imagine the greatest special effects ever. On a TV movie budget, those kind of effects are a bit harder to achieve. I'm still glad we have a chance to see this scene, but I mean, come on, look at this. It's like Windows 98 screensaver graphics. Even Brian Fuller admits that they shouldn't have asked the special effects team to do so much with so little money. It's just not good. By the way, I know that some of the 234 people who died according to that line of dialogue might have been killed during the city's destruction here instead of in the school, but we don't see any confirmed. And also, you know, doesn't really matter. They all got counted in the end. Jackie Talbot, a friend of Billy's, tells him and Chris that the town is burning down. The two of them head out in their poorly painted pickup to see what's going on, and after being temporarily stopped by a falling electric pole and a fire hydrant car wash, Billy sees Carrie walking down the road. The boring bully floors it to try to put an end to her, but it doesn't go all that well. After crushing the car in midair, Carrie uses her TK to wrap it around a tree, killing Chris Hargensen and Billy Nolan. Carrie gets home and remote starts a bath, which is a pretty great use of her powers. Almost as great as suspending water droplets in the air. Her mother walks in, causing Carrie to go cross-eyed, and since Margaret thinks her daughter is a bona fide witch by now, she attempts to drown her in the bathtub. She holds her head underwater for a real long time, but Carrie fights back by using her telekinetic powers to make her mom's heart stop. Like I mentioned in the original film's kill count, this is how Margaret is killed in the book. De Palma opted for something more symbolic and visual, but this version applied its 2002 technology to bring the book's death to screen, for better or worse. Carrie is left lying in her bathtub as we cut back to the police station, where Detective Mulcahy is still trying to figure out why they haven't been able to find Carrie's body yet. Turns out it's because Sue Snell went to Carrie's house and scooped her straight on out of that tub so she could save her with mouth to mouth. This brings Carrie back because in this version of the story, Carrietta White survives, as does Miss Desjardins, who we see at the police station. Remember, this movie was meant to launch a TV series, kind of. So leaving these characters alive meant they could be a part of it. Alas, the show never happened. So audiences never got to see the adventures of Sue and Carrie, living in basements and wearing wigs to hide their identities. Oh well, at least this thing tries to go out with a jump scare.
Sin never dies.
2 of them, actually. Anything else, Carrie 2002?
No.
Cool. Bye! How many? I mean, once again, I just said the number a few minutes ago, but come on, let's get to the numbers anyway. "234 people died in this version of Carrie, which still falls short of the current record held by Final Destination. I can't do too much about the gender breakdown since, I mean, you know, but with a runtime of 132 minutes, that left us with a kill on average every 33.85 seconds. That's math. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Margaret White. It may not look great, but the thought of someone stopping your heart with their mind is pretty scary. Dull machete for lamest kill will go to Tommy Ross once again, because come on, dude. And that's it. The TV movie version of Carrie came out in 2002 on NBC, and both Brian Fuller and Angela Bettis admit that it's not great. Bettis once called it Carrie meets 90210. Last up is the theatrical remake on Friday, but until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the Kill Count. Thanks a lot for watching this Kill Count. I want to thank some patrons like Levi Van Beek, Robbie Ian, Evan Bolick, Drew Bobin, Johnny Boy, Shim Cohen, and Nancy E. Stange. Almost done with the Carrie franchise. I know that a lot of you are just waiting for that 2013 remake. I don't know why, it's not great, but you kids love your new movies, don't ya? Thanks everyone, be good people.